Hey, Stan Deaton with the Georgia Historical Society. Welcome back. Major League Baseball announced this week that there will be baseball in 2020 after all. It looked like we were going to lose the entire season. You remember back in April we commemorated Hank Aaron's historic 715th home run. It looked bleak then. We didn't know what the outcome was going to be. They announced they're going to play 60 games rather than 162, and the playoffs and World Series are supposed to go on as scheduled in October. The entire season may be played without fans, as may the other major sports leagues when they come back. I thought it would be fun to look back today at other stoppages in sports leagues in America in our history, and it goes back farther than you might think. Most of the reasons that any major sports league interrupts play, hits the pause button, is because of labor problems between management and players, either a lockout or a strike. It famously happened to the National Hockey League in 2004 and 5 when the entire season was lost, including the Stanley Cup Championship in 2005. No champion crowned because of labor problems. Happened to the NBA in 1998-99. There was a lockout. The season shortened from 82 to 50 games. Baseball has had its share of labor problems even before this year. Famously in 1994, on August 12th, the players walked out on strike. All of the rest of that season was lost, and the World Series was canceled. No champion in 1994. It bled over into the 95 season. That season was cut from 162 to 144 games, but the Braves went on to win the World Series in October. The National Football League has had a couple of labor stoppages, famously in 1987 and again in 1982, but the Super Bowl has never been canceled and has only been postponed once, as we'll talk about. Now, if you go all the way back to 1918, we've talked about the Spanish flu pandemic here. It came in two waves, you remember, in the spring of 1918 and again in the fall. Well, in September 1918, Major League Baseball suspended the season and moved the World Series up a month. It wasn't canceled, but it got moved up. It bled over, the flu pandemic bled over into the spring of 1919, and the National Hockey League had to stop the Stanley Cup Championship while it was going on because some of the Montreal players came down with the flu. No champion crowned in 1919. There have been other reasons throughout our history why sports have stopped and paused for either a day or a length of time. In 1923, on August 2nd, President Warren Harding died, and Major League Baseball suspended play that day and on August 10th when the president was buried. That has not ever happened again. Now, sports went on through the Great Depression, but World War II, of course, stopped many sports, or at least changed the way they looked. Many professional sports players across all leagues went into the military. Most famously, perhaps, Ted Williams, the splendid splinter who played all of his seasons with the Boston Red Sox, lost 3 full seasons during World War II and parts of 2 others during Korea when he might have really been in the prime of his career. June 6, 1944, Major League Baseball on D-Day did suspend play that day, but not any of the other games throughout the war. The NFL lost a lot of their players to the military, and in fact in 1943 the season was shortened down to 10 games. The Steelers and the Eagles combined rosters and played as the Steagles that year in 1943. Play was not interrupted again in any major league sport for any other reason except labor problems until September 11th, 2001. Famously, Major League Baseball suspended all games that day and through September 17th. The NFL suspended their games after September 11th. Both the World Series and the Super Bowl were played, but postponed later in that season. Now, World War II didn't interrupt baseball, but it did interrupt the Masters. No green jackets were given out in 1943, 44, or 45. The Olympics, of course, have been canceled in 2020 because of COVID-19. They were also lost in 1916 because of World War I, and all in 1940 and 44, summer and winter in those 2 years because of World War II. We don't know yet what's going to happen with college football or the NFL. They are likely to be played without fans also, if they are played at all. We will see. Stay tuned. Stay safe. Stay strong. I'm Stan Deaton with the Georgia Historical Society. Play ball. And as always, thank you for watching.